I promised to do the rhetorical analysis of the WotC letter because people were very interested in that. So we're going to actually do that now. So I completely understand if you're only here for magic, but this is what's going on behind the scenes with Wizards staff, specifically Arena staff. So dealing with the program right here. For those of you who are unaware, this is called Magic the Gathering Arena. Usually I'd assume you all know, but I don't want to assume anything here. You can see that Arena staff is trying to unionize, and to give you backgrounds, I can give you a couple links for figuring out. I pulled them up already here. So this is what unions have done over the years for you. The labor movement and unionization and unions and all sorts of things have done amazing things for the United States throughout generations. It is really, really important to understand that, and we will be wanting your input on all of this, by the way. I will be doing a look at the actual letter, and I will be wanting your thoughts, etc. But for those of you who don't know, when you are just an individual worker, you really don't have that much power. So unions are groups of workers that gives you bargaining power to say to an employer, no, you can't pay us, not a living wage, right? Etc. So they are responsible for the minimum wage. They are responsible for 40-hour week. Obviously here you can see unemployment compensation, workers' compensation, abolition of child labor, social security, right? And health insurance being paid by your employer, number one. And so there's so much that they've done. And they were also a big part of the civil rights movement. They've always been a big part of everything. Where the major unions go, and that includes like truckers and all sorts of things, like the major unions go, usually policy follows. So it can be very, very important. And a smaller, concept as well. We have the arena workers, right? The MTGA arena, Magic the Gathering arena workers, who design, who are developers for the arena site and game, and for making sure that that it's working, for putting forward the particular flashback drafts, etc. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff that they are doing, and they want to have the power to work through that. So here, by the way, is the Economic Policy Institute saying that unions are not only good for workers, they're good for communities and for democracy, and they have a bunch of stats on that. So if you're just interested in, that, here's a link as well. These are just a couple resources for you beyond that. Now, here we go. So the workers at Arena are unionizing. Here's a couple of them talking about it. There's more as well. You can see they have this WotC, which is the actual notably, this is very important because it'll come up in the letter. WotC is the actual union of arena workers. CWA is a big union that is advising them. So it's really, really important to understand the difference there. This is the letter that, among others, apparently they're getting daily letters. And this is Wizards of the Coast nominally mailing these letters, although it was noted really recently that Hasbro and Wizards have hired an anti-union firm. So this may come from that. We don't know. So this is the letter, and we will read it out loud really quickly, and then we'll sort of talk about, each of the steps here and what Wizards is doing. But in short, it's a threat. It's meant to strike a little bit of fear into the hearts of people while maintaining a nominally cordial tone. So one of the things that we look at when we're looking at rhetorical analysis is a set of 4 items that we consider. We look at the exigence, the speaker, the audience, and the purpose. And a lot of people get really confused between the exigence and the purpose, but they are quite different. We'll explain that in a second. But the speaker's pretty obvious. The things we look at for the speaker are where they come from, right? What their background is, what the psychology is behind, them as a person/entity, what wants and desires that they have overall as part of their background, and so on and so forth. With the purpose, we're looking at what they want to achieve. What do they want to have happen by sending this out? What exactly do they want to initiate or change in belief systems or just be heard or and understood or so on and so forth? So there's a lot that goes into the purpose as well. Now, the audience is whoever or just whomever they're addressing and want to have take this action, whether it be changing minds or, taking actual physical action or etc., writing a letter, whatever you got, right? And then the exigence, what we're looking at here for wizard, well, let's not get into the particulars yet. The exigence in general is what caused them to write this letter. So as you can see, it's often students get very confused between the exigence and the purpose. The why they're writing the letter, the why applies to both exigence and purpose. Okay, why am I writing this letter? The exigence is the cause. What caused you to write this letter? And the why am I writing this letter? Well, I'm trying to get this to happen. That's the purpose. And so the exigence for wizards to write this letter, right, is that the WotC, right, the arena developers, etc., the arena workers decided to form a union, right? Wizards saw that happening. It is happening. And so that is the exigence for this letter. That is the reason why they're writing this letter. You can also potentially move from there to the reason that they're writing this letter, right? The exigence for writing this letter is they don't want that union to succeed. The purpose is to break that union or stop people from unionizing, but different is like exigence is the desire behind that. When we're looking at exigence, we are looking very carefully at, why they might not want this to happen. What about this isn't good for them, right? So unions do mean that the workers have bargaining power, and almost never is that what companies want. Companies want to be able to immediately make decisions and implement them without the workers' say. And that is super healthy if you are a benevolent company. How many of those do we actually have, though? How many of those actually have, their workers' best interests? Primary. I don't think it's that many. So because of what unions do, I have always, and the fact that, corporations more and more, are so concerned with profit and their shareholders over, the well-being of their workers, and, paying a living wage and doing all the things. So, yeah. Anyway, whatever they could get away with to cut costs, including workers' wages and workers' healthcare and anything that benefits the workers, they would do, because again, that is their duty to their shareholders. So again, yes, there's lots going on in that. This is sort of an overview, but yes, the exigence, another exigence might be they don't want other parts of their enterprise to unionize, certainly, right? They do have multiple branches of things. And if the arena staff, they may be worried that the exigence may be that they would worry that other areas of the company would unionize. Absolutely. So when we're looking at this, we are going to be considering all of those, things, but we're also going to be considering. So one of the things that's really interesting about rhetorical analysis is a lot of my students, one of the things that they do most frequently, and this is very important, is they look at what was said. But one of the things that is so key in rhetorical analysis is looking at what wasn't said. And sometimes that means whether the way something was phrased, could it have been done another way, and how would that impact everything that's done? But what isn't said is often equally important to figuring out what the purpose and exigence is and what lies behind it, because a lot of the times people will disguise what they actually want to have happen, the purpose, and why they're writing this, the exigence, through various means. So what we're looking at here, I will read through it really quickly, and I'm going to ask you about it right away, just to see, what your thoughts are. And then we will go through and we'll look at like individually what they're doing with the words here. It's not really pragmatics as such. It's more, so that's more linguistics. It's really going to be purely rhetorical analysis. I try not to use many crazy terms and things like that. I'll try and keep it pretty straightforward. We are going to be it's going to be pretty simple, just because a lot of the time, well, it's not simple. It's going to be simplified because I don't want to bore anybody, but yeah. Having a union is good for the union. members often, unless the union is corrupt. That has happened with mobs, but in general, having a union is very good for the union members. It's not good for the companies. In the company's minds, it actually has proven, like we say, not only good for workers, they're good for communities and democracy. Like, we do know that they are good technically, but the long-term view is not what and general health of the workers and like desire of the workers to be at work during good conditions. That's not what the companies are looking at. They're not looking at the long term. They're not looking at the sort of like overall health of the thing. They're looking at profits immediately. So normally companies are not incentivized to appreciate unions. And so we've had, Wizards and Hasbro doing their thing. We've had Starbucks, there's so many, and the Uber and Lyft unions, and, so on and so forth, like trying to unionize all the stuffs. We also had, I think it was Card Kingdom. Yeah, it was Card Kingdom that was okay with their unionization, but TCG Player resorted to some horrible union busting and like not only union busting techniques, but not only like only union busting but like anti-union, torture essentially. It was crazy. So, but yeah, unions are responsible for like workplace safety. Like, yeah, it is unconscionable in my opinion to be anti-union as a company. In general, I don't think unions make terribly silly claims. Like, they don't make frivolous claims. Like, they're not trying to, yeah. Anyway, so like nurses unionize, like, doctors, you get the idea. So let's read through this. So here we go. This is an actual letter received by this person who is an arena worker. And we are going to read it. So, dear blah, we are writing to you at home because the decision you will soon make is an important one. It is not just about a workplace election. It is about your voice, your future, and the kind of relationship you want to have with the rest of the Wizards organization moving forward. On June 2nd, the National Labor Relations Board will hold an election. You and your colleagues will decide whether you want the CWA to represent you. We know people may look at this issue differently. Some have shared that they prefer to maintain a direct working relationship with the leadership, while others are still gathering information or may feel the CWA could play a role. We respect this. What matters most is that every employee has the information they need to make an informed decision and participate in the vote. We are proud of this team and the work you do every day. Your creativity and commitment have helped make Arena what it is today. The team has consistently met the challenges, supported each other, and delivered a great experience for our fans. We also know that trust is earned and maintained through action. We can always listen better, communicate better, and keep improving. We are committed to that work. As you consider your decision, it may be helpful to understand how union representation works. If employees choose union representation, the CWA will serve as the employee's representative in collective bargaining with the company. That process typically involves negotiating over wages, benefits, scheduling, and other terms and conditions of employment. Outcomes are not predetermined and depend on negotiations between both parties. All the benefits and perks you currently enjoy would be on the bargaining table for both parties to negotiate, based on what's most important to them. That means you could end up with more, the same, or less than you have now. No union can guarantee what would happen in that bargaining process, which can be lengthy. 465 days on average. If employees do not choose union representation, Wizards of the Coast would continue to work directly with employees on workplace matters, just as it does today, with a much greater degree of flexibility than a typically rigid union contract. There is no single right answer for everyone. This is a personal decision that each of you will make. Our future is stronger when we work together. We believe your voice is strongest when it is heard directly, not through a third party. We encourage you to review the information available, ask questions, discuss with those you trust, and most importantly, make your voice heard by voting on June 2nd. With appreciation, who the fuck is John? Sorry. But John, there it is. So here we go. So I mean, what do you notice first off? Is there anything that struck you about this in particular? Because we can dive right into it. And then each of the things I point out, I do want your thoughts on. Very subtly threatening. It's not even subtle. It is so threatening. But you're right. It is couched in a manner that is meant to make it subtle. It feels empty. Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. There's so many phrases in here that are stock. Right? Trying to scare people? Absolutely. Absolutely. So here we go. Very PR threatening. Yes, yes, exactly. So here we go. So let's start at the first line and work our way through. So we're writing to you at home. Yes, they really don't want people to unionize. Exactly. We're writing to you at home. Already, what's going on here? We're writing to you at home. This is a workplace matter. We know where we know where you live. Yes, that is definitely, you could read into that, definitely. But most employers will not write to you directly, like an actual mailed letter. Doing it at work is illegal. Yes. Yes. Anything that could be seen as an attempt to quell unionization is in fact illegal. WotC has in fact sent the Pinkertons after people. Yes. We know where you live is a valid threat, but they're employed there, so they already knew that. But yes, we're writing to you at home. This is an unusual circumstance. That's the main point about that, right? This is an unusual circumstance. We're writing to you at home. There is a tinge of desperation to this. This means we really want you to see this. We don't want to do it at work. Yeah, there's so much just in that first little bit, right? Freaking 7 words. The interesting thing here also is we. So the collective pronoun we can be used to create a sense of community. But here it is not. It is not meant to include, because we in English doesn't have, there's a feature that it doesn't have. It is called clusivity. And in other languages, we defines, like the word for we differs based on whether it includes the speaker and the listener, or the speaker and the speaker's friends. English we does not have that. This we is one of the ones that only includes the speaker and the speaker's friends. The listener is not included in this we. This is we, Wizards of the Coast, possibly Hasbro as well. So this is fascinating that they choose to do this. There isn't really another option necessarily, because Wizards, we could, if they'd said, right? Yes, illegal to prevent workers from talking to each other about wages or working conditions. Absolutely. Wizards didn't, like, we wouldn't say like Wizards of the Coast is writing to you at home, right? They didn't really have another option, but it is still notable that this is separating, right? We versus you. So we are writing to you at home. So it already creates a division. And the fact that it's the first line, first word, does mean that it starts the letter off with a feeling of us versus them mentality. A feeling of not being included necessarily in this we, right? This is something that can set people on edge a little bit when the we is not inclusive here of the listener. So, writing to you at home because the decision you will soon make is an important one. So they're setting the stage here. Okay, you're going to make a decision soon. It's important. They're not going to say what that decision is. Yeah, unapologetic. Exactly. Exactly. There is a lot of that here. So note, they don't say what that decision is. Not in this first paragraph, because they want to then, in the later paragraphs, show exactly what that decision entails and what that decision is according to them. They're going to spin the nature of this decision based on their perspective in the hopes of persuading the audience to view it that way. If they said in the front, it's notable what they don't do here. They don't say, we're writing you at home because the decision of whether to form a union, whether you will be part of a union, right? They're not going to say that because they're not going to say what that decision entails until they can spin it their way. This is a persuasive technique. It is neither good nor evil. It is based on, it's just a powerful device that you can use to convince people of what you want to, have them do. Define the term later, essentially. In this case, define what that decision is later, so that, you can use a lot of emotionally loaded terms. You can use threats. You can use blah, right? You can show them what it is according to you. Yes, exactly, Movine. Exactly. So this is a technique you can use. It is very powerful, again, but it's powerful to good or bad end, however you use it. In this case, right, we may disagree with morally how it's being used, but it is a very, most rhetorical devices, right, it's literally just power. It's not good or evil. It's how you use it, so to speak. But here they're using a very powerful rhetorical approach, which is waiting to tell you, right, what this thing is until they've made it clear what their stance is on the issue, and hoping that it will be convincing to you. So it is not just, note the it, right? The decision you will make, the referent is the decision, right? This is a pronoun. Its antecedent is decision. Again, they're still not defining it, right? It is not just about a workplace election. No one is saying it is, right? No one, a workplace election is completely different, right? From like unionization in general. The whole process is much more complicated than just an election. So like this is an interesting way of sort of phrasing this before they're getting into the thing. They're just trying to drive home that it's important. It's very important, right? So then they're going to say, okay, what is it actually about, right? It's not just about this. Then you provide what it is about. It is about your voice, your future, and the kind of relationship you want to have with the rest of the Wizards organization moving forward. We've got a lovely set of 3 here: your voice, your future, and the kind of relationship, right? Sets of 3s are traditionally very powerful. Just, we like the sound of it. We've been trained to like the sound of lists of 3. Notably, they mess up the comma later on, but yeah. With another list of 3. But here we have, so your voice, your future, and the kind of relationship you want to have with the rest of Wizards. So, yeah, workload. Well, they might vote for a union head. I'm not sure. But it does depend here. But this classifying as a workplace. So your voice, your future. So the idea here is that Wizards is terribly concerned about your welfare, your voice being heard, your future, right? We're writing this out of concern for you. We care about you, is the idea here. And the kind of relationship you want to have with the rest of the Wizards organization moving forward. We care about the relationship between us and the kind of relationship you want to have. But there's an undertone here. There's an undercurrent. There's subtext, which is that if you make a bad decision, it's going to affect your relationship with Wizards. I'm not dating you. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm going too deeply into this right now. I'm sorry. I meant to do a much less, intense version, but I like rhetorical analysis. Anyway, I'm trying to leave like the terminology out of it so I don't bore you. But let's go on June 2nd. Okay. So we've got a date for whatever this thing is happening, right? The National Labor Relations Board will hold an election. So here's that election, right? The National Labor Relations Board, which I assume oversees unionization and elections and the election to become electing to become a union. I don't actually know how all of that works. I've never been part of a union. I've always been self-employed. So, well, I haven't always been self-employed. I did work for a company multiple times, but there was definitely no unionization likely. But yeah. The National Board will hold an election. You and your colleagues will decide whether you want the CWA to represent you. Now, already, this is wrong. The CWA will not be representing them. The CWA was not the union that they're making. Yeah, so, Yeah, left a non-union job. Absolutely, right? There's a reason like SAG and AFTRA, like all the like Hollywood unions, etc. And there's the nurses union, doctors. Yeah. So here, the CWA is not the union. The union is WotC. That is the union. CWA is consulting with them. CWA is a big union that is helping them, working with them, collaborating with them. The CWA is not representing them. That's not what they're electing. And this is misinformation, right? You and your colleagues will decide whether you want the CWA to represent you. No, that is not what's happening here. And if somebody were less informed, right? If one of the workers at Arena were less informed, they might actually believe this. They're like, oh, are we actually having CWA represent us? They don't know anything about us, right? They don't know our jobs. They don't know. Yeah, that's not what's happening here. So already Wizards is being disingenuous. They may become a chapter, right? But CWA itself is not representing them. So this is disingenuous. The way of phrasing this, that's incorrect. They're not deciding that. They're deciding whether WotC will become a union, a formal union, right? An official union. So this is not good. Yes, whether you want to be a part of a group that helps determine, right, your path forward, right? And we'll see some testimonies too. So we know people may look at this issue differently. So what they're trying to introduce here is that, oh, you know, not everybody wants this, right? Some have shared that they prefer to maintain a direct working relationship with leadership. Note that they lead on this, right? And they are intimating that people talk directly to them. They're trying to sow disunity here. They're trying to suggest that, you know, there are quite a few, like some is very vague, right? There are some who have shared with us that they're like, no, we want our direct relationship. We don't want a union. However big or small that number is, or whether it's even just a lie, that is still something that goes into people's minds and being like, well, you know, if this is just going to fail, if other people don't want this, blah, blah, blah. It is meant to sow distrust. They prefer to maintain a direct working relationship with leadership. Now, it's really, really important to understand that the emphasis on direct working relationship, those are loaded terms. Those are nice terms. They are emotionally nice. Direct working relationship, that sounds great, right? But there's a lot that goes into that, right? An individual employee, even with a direct working relationship with somebody, can get fired right away, right? For doing something, for asking for more, right? Whereas a union, right, if you're bargaining, right, that's many people and you can't fire them all without crushing your company pretty quickly, right? So again, this direct working relationship sounds great, except it is with less power. It comes with less power. And so it's very important that they're saying, they're trying to focus on the good aspects of not unionizing. This direct working relationship, you don't have to go through an intermediary, right? But to some degree, a union doesn't have to go through the intermediary either. Like a union member, you can still talk to the leadership. Like you can still like do stuff. But anyway, when you're doing the collective bargaining, you just have more behind you in order to actually make sure that that thing happens. Anyway, moving along. So while others are still gathering information or may feel the CWA could play a role, again, not the CWA, right? But notice that they have nobody listed what they've omitted. Who have they omitted in this, right? They've got some saying no, right? I want a direct working relationship. Others are still gathering information. Or, okay, CWA could play a role. There's no point here where some people are like, where they're saying like, oh, and many people are like, yeah, let's unionize. We want collective bargaining power. No point are they talking about what a union actually does positively. So while they're pretending to weigh both sides of this, or all sides of this, if you count still gathering information as a side, right? They're not actually presenting that, right? Could play a role is the least that they could say that a union does. It literally is the most vague thing ever. Let me vague that up for you. So yeah. So that's what's going on here for that sentence, right? They are very carefully avoiding saying anything truly positive about unionizing, trying to emphasize what's good about, right, not being in a union, trying to sow discord and at least show that they're not unified, right, as far as yet, right? So on and so forth, right? Can you meet the person who enjoys the sword? So next, we respect this. Clearly you don't. You're interfering. You are interfering, and you are trying to pretend that you are giving necessary information to people, right, to ensure their voice is heard, but you are actually omitting so much under the guise of full disclosure. So clearly you do not respect their ability to make their decisions on their own. Yes, exactly. It is trying to divide them. Exactly, VK. Yeah, I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. So it is definitely trying to sow division. It's trying to sow doubt as to the success of the unionization process, etc. So here, what matters most is that every employee has the information they need to make an informed decision and participate in the vote. That is not what this is doing. This is providing no extra information whatsoever. There's no information that this has added and that it adds through the rest of this that people wouldn't already know if something were happening with a union around them, the potential unionization around them. This is very clearly an attempt to spin, to present one side as though it were expository, objective. So this is very disingenuous. We are proud of this team and the work you do every day. I have never, by the way, this paragraph, we are proud of, starting with, we are proud of this team, and ending with delivered a great experience for our fans. That is the most generic praise I have ever seen. These are stock phrases. We are proud of this team and the work you do every day. Your creativity and commitment have helped make Arena what it is today. You can't even bother to say what that is. The team has, give us specifics. The team has consistently met the challenges, supported each other, and delivered a great experience for our fans. That is the most boring thing ever, but they are trying to butter people up. This is flattery. This is an attempt to suggest that, that working relationship could be really good because we really care about you, right? This is, but it's so generic. It doesn't at all go into any details that show that they really care about each individual Arena member, let alone achievements that they've made, right? Make Arena what it is today is the most generic thing I've ever heard. Like, you can literally say that about anything. You have helped make me what I am today. What am I today, though? Like, what am I? What am I? God damn. Right? So this is, oh my God. You've never seen the union fear responded to with, we don't want you to unionize. What changes would you need to see so we can avoid that? Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of the union, is getting those changes in place. Like, the only reason that they're going to actually give changes in the first place. Anyway, moving along, sorry. We also know that trust is earned and maintained through action. We can always listen better, communicate better, and keep improving. We are committed to that work. This is acknowledging that they probably haven't done a good job of these things in the past, necessarily. Like, this allows for the possibility that they've been bad at this. It's trying not to. It's trying to cover over that with, we can just do better. We've been doing great so far, but we can just do better, right? We are committed to that work of always improving our, listening and communicating. But what this doesn't say, right? Maintain through action. Listen. The only actions they list are listening, communicating, and that's it. It doesn't say what they're improving. The relationship, maybe. Who knows? Right? You're committed to the work of improving. Okay. Right? What does that entail? What have people brought to you as issues that you have failed to address as well as you could? Right? But listen and communication, right? Listen better and communicate better doesn't mean that we will do better for you. That's left out. We can always listen better, communicate better doesn't mean we'll raise your wages or we'll let devs have a say in what happens to them. Like this person wants. There's I don't know if I'll be able to find it really quickly, but there's another one of the unionization people, the yellow things where you can see exactly why they're unionizing. A lot of people have said why they're unionizing. And I did post it on my Blue Sky. I just haven't, I don't know how long ago it was, so I don't know if I'll be able to find it that quickly. Oh, I'm in home, aren't I? Okay. Oh, here's the person, right? I'm organizing to ensure that my talented coworkers and I have an effectual voice to create a truly incredible place to work. All right, that's a little bit generic, but we've got another person that just talks about the devs that is really, really important too. also Shronks. Sorry. Upton Sinclair's The Jungle. Oh yeah, here. I'm organizing because we have no voice in our workplace. That tells you already that Wizards isn't doing well, right? Leadership can just ignore our concerns, right? A union allows us to have a voice that they cannot ignore. We have another one that's just, right? I'm organizing because I think it's the best path forward for our team and the games industry to ensure that devs have a say in the decisions made about us. For me, the big three issues are layoff protections, remote protections, right? Career progression, etc. So like there's real concerns here that Wizards has not been addressing. And here they don't say they will. They say we listen better, communicate better. They don't say which actions they would take to improve the situation. It's very important that we see that, but they don't say that here. Keep improving what? And committed to that work to listen this and improve what? Like this isn't helping. Sorry, I'm getting worked up. As you consider your decision, it may be helpful to understand how union representation works as defined by Wizards. You could probably just go look it up. Like literally, just go Google it. Don't trust the people who are like, trust us, we know what's good for you. Here's how a union works. Keep in mind, they don't want you to unionize. This is why it's important to keep in the exigence in your mind, right? The whole time. They're like, so, and the purpose, right? Why are they doing this? They see a union. They don't want a union, right? They don't want other people unionizing as well. Okay, and then what are this purpose they're doing it? Stop you unionizing. Okay, so if they're going to then define what union representation is, this is where we get that decision, right? This is the decision up here that they didn't want to say what it was until they defined it for you. So, if employees choose union representation, the CWA will serve as the employee's representative in collective bargaining with the company. No, it won't. CWA is not going to be in charge of that. That will be you, WotC, the actual fucking union that they're forming. Sorry, pardon my French. That is not what's happening here. So, but if you choose union representation, you, WotC, probably the head of the union will be in charge of doing that, or the heads of the union, could be multiple. In collective bargaining with the company, right? They'll serve as your representative, yes, but you vote on shit too. It's not like they're just going to be randomly making decision and like bringing that to the table. You have to actually present what you want to have happen, and then your union leaders take that to the thing. So this is disengaging the employee from the actual God, this is rough. Anyway, that process typically involves negotiating over wages, benefits, scheduling, and other terms and conditions of employment. Yes, it does. This is like the first really straightforward, clear, true sentence that they've said. Absolutely. This is definitely what a process of collective bargaining does with the company. Now they want to scare you. Outcomes are not predetermined and depend on negotiations between both parties. That is correct. That goes without saying. However, they really want to say it here because they want to scare you into suggesting that the outcome could be bad if you allow collective bargaining. They want you to think about that, especially because they drive that home with the next sentence. All the benefits and perks you currently enjoy would be on the bargaining table for both parties to negotiate based on what's most important to them. All the stuff that you currently like about your job, the benefits you enjoy, the so-called perks. I don't know what the perks are, but you could lose all of that. Anything that you like, your bathroom time, your health insurance, your ability to come in late to work and leave late because you want to avoid the traffic, or blah blah blah. Lunchtime, extended lunch and bathroom break time. Who knows? I'm trying to think of perks that wouldn't be listed as benefits. But anyway, you could lose all that shit, is what they're trying to say here, right? They're trying to say that if you come to the collective bargaining table, you could lose things that you already have rather than gaining things that you want and need. That's what they're trying to highlight here. $5 gift cards for the holidays, yeah! Arena gems for the holidays. Because that doesn't cost Wizards anything. Sorry. Yeah. So, So this is the threat. This is the trying to scare you. Yeah, it could be free drinks in the cooler, could be anything like that. This is them trying to scare you. So here, that means you could end up with more. They're acknowledging the same. Here's where they're missing the Oxford comma, or less than you have now. They really want to introduce both same and less here, because less is super scary. And same would mean, okay, what if I went through all this trouble of unionizing and got, Hasbro and Wizards pissed off with me and it wasn't worth it because we didn't get anything. They want to emphasize those two things. They want to make sure that those make their way into the conversation, or at least into the audience's head. No union can guarantee what would happen in that bargaining process. No guarantees. They really want to drive home that you could lose stuff. They do not give any statistics on how many times unions have gone to the bargain table and lost or remained the same. They give no statistics on that, but they're perfectly happy to give a goddamn statistic on how long the bargaining process could take. Can be lengthy, 465 days on average. You could take over a year and almost a half, right? To get what you want, or to get less, or, right, you might be out of a job during that. You might be striking or during all of that. They want to put that in your head, even though there are protections for that. But suddenly they come up with a statistic. That's fantastic. But it could also take 2 weeks. Yeah. And which unions are taking 465 days to get anything done? Probably not the small union of Arena at Wizards. Yeah, grievances taking over a year to be addressed. Exactly. Instead of ignored. Yes, yeah. We can instead of ignoring you, period, we might ignore you for only 465 days and then give you what you want. Yeah. So you can see what's being omitted here. It is, and what they're doing, they're trying to frighten people. This is pure fear mongering. The way they've presented this, they want you to take their view of unionization. They want to make you as fearful of it as possible, and they want to just make, Anyway, if so here, look, but you don't have to be afraid, because if you don't choose union representation, Wizards of the Coast would continue to work directly with employees on workplace matters just as it does today. Nothing will change. We don't have to pay any attention to anything you have to say, with a much greater degree of flexibility than a typically rigid union contract. So this is, but you could still have your direct relationship with us. We'll continue to work with you if you don't unionize. But they don't say we are going to actually try to get X, Y, or Z that you're concerned about done. They still don't say that. That is still the same as we know that trust is earned and blah. We'll always listen better, contribute. Yeah. We'll be way cooler than that stinky union contract. Exactly. It smelled. Yeah, exactly. So this is the same empty promise. This is, but you don't have to fear. But they needed to follow this up with the same thing again. Now, there is no single right answer for everyone. Yes, there is sometimes. There really is. This is a personal decision that each of you will make. Again, they're trying to single each person out so they don't feel part of a collective. Because if they don't feel part of a collective, then they might not unionize, might not actually become part of a collective. Our future is stronger when we work together. Cool, but you can work together with a union. That's still working together. The argument you've always heard from engineering types is that unions won't permit overtime and I want to keep working on my project. Yeah. I mean, technically, yes, I'm sure there are some things that, they won't permit unpaid overtime. If the company's willing to pay them, I think they'll do that. But you want to keep working on your, I'm sure, boo-hoo for you, I'm sorry. Anyway, the future is stronger when our future is stronger when we work together is just completely disingenuous there. That's trying to intimate that the only time that they are have a strong future is when they work together individually as opposed to union and them. We believe your voice is strongest when it is heard directly, not through a third party. Now, normally that's the case. Hearsay is never as strong as directly from the source. That's not what this is, right? They are trying to disguise this with emotional language, right? Hi, Carillion. They're trying to disguise this with emotional language, right? Your voice being strong and heard, right? And then saying directly versus not through a third party. But that's actually not the case here. When your voice and others matches, when you scream together, it's way louder than you alone. Hey, Hamhawks! Welcome, welcome, welcome! So yes, this is way louder when you scream together. It's really, really important to understand that they're disguising that. No, have fun! European engineers were all part of guilds used to laugh and laugh. Yeah. So here, like I said, they're trying to use, so emotionally, we always feel that like hearing directly from the source is the strongest when our voice is strongest, not through a third party. Not the case. The third party here isn't really a third party. It's you together with people who are similarly minded, that all have one goal, which is to improve your working conditions. That's not a third party as such. If the union ever decided to do something that was against your best interest, you leave the union. Anyway, so you can see how they are misrepresenting, absolutely misrepresenting what a union is, what it would do. It's so bad. And they're also misrepresenting exactly how much, they're not even representing at all how they would change if given the opportunity. Like what actions they are taking, right, to address the concerns of the community. We encourage you to review the information available, ask questions, discuss with those you trust, and most importantly, make your voice heard by voting on June 2nd. This is a hand wave at being like, oh yeah, we're fine with this vote. Just don't vote for a union. Yes, some of the bigger, older unions have shifted in their priorities, certainly, and you can leave them. Those are bigger, older unions, and usually not quite small, large ones as well. So when you have a larger group, it is harder to please everybody, but when you're a smaller group with the same considerations, oftentimes you'll be okay. So here we go. With appreciation, whoever the fuck John is. That's the letter. That's one of the letters. They've been receiving them every day, they said. They've been receiving lots of these letters. The employer refused to recognize the user going through the... Yes, yeah. The employer... Yeah, so basically what happens was WotC's, which is the arena workers, decided to unionize, and then... so United Wizards of the Coast, right? Paired with CWA, because CWA is advising them, etc. But the actual union is United Wizards of the Coast, WotC's. And they are... they unionized, and you can see if you click here, if you actually go to them, right? They introduce themselves. You can also sign their petition to be recognized and go from there. But they are, right? Here's how CWA is working with them, providing common framework and resources for workers establishing unions. They are not the union itself, and that's really misrepresented in this letter, as we talked about. But yes, you can sign their petition. You can, say and stand in solidarity with them, etc. So this is them. And then again, they gave Wizards a time period to recognize them, and they did not. And in fact, they hired, I forget who they hired. It's listed here somewhere. But yeah, daily anti-union emails. This is just one of them that we read today. Where's the hold on one sec. Yeah, Fisher Phillips, that's the one. They used that. Fisher Phillips is an anti-union firm that they hired. Oh, here it is right here. This is since the announcement, they have hired Fisher Phillips, a union avoidance firm, and chosen to engage in a daily union avoidance campaign by sending emails to the team. Now they're doing letters, actual, mail delivered letters. Yeah. So they've forced them into the drawn out election process, rather than listening to the overwhelming majority of employees. That is impressive. And so that gives you a sense of that some that we're talking about. Some have shared that they preferred, while others blah, blah, blah. But anyway, we've gone into a huge, big depth. I'm so sorry. That was a lot to consider. But there's your rhetorical analysis, like the basic rhetorical analysis of like what that letter is doing. So if you missed it and you want to take a look at, yeah, it's really disgusting. So it's worth noting that Hasbro just released a report saying its earnings for the first quarter of 2026, and driven by Wizards and Digital Gaming, led by Magic the Gathering, fueled by releases of Lorwyn Eclipse and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, along with continued strength in backlist titles. Hasbro is making money hand over fist with Magic. It's the only thing, I think, besides D&D probably, which is also owned by Wizards of the Coast, that's making them money. They are losing money everywhere else as far as their toys and other shit, usually. Obviously, they've got some Monopoly Go money, some app money, etc. But one of the things that they are doing now is trying to... We don't know how much is Hasbro and how much is Wizards, and they can be inseparable sometimes, for exactly how much Hasbro is pushing Wizards to be anti-union, etc., and have to send out like these daily fucking letters. So this is just one of them, right? Again, and hopefully that's helpful for you to understand what's going on and a little bit of background about unions in the United States if you're not from here, and what unions have done and how disingenuous this is. But yeah, that's what's going on with Arena employees and WotC, and there's not much we can do about it except support the union in any way possible and just make it clear that we all support the union. But this is just an insight into some of the workings here.